Hi, this is Bill Kearns from Blue Kernel IT. Here I have the academic test demo client. This is a WPF client that I've written to work with the endpoint I have exposed. So here I have the endpoint open as the console host from the last video. The first most important thing is the service reference. Here I have my service reference, which I can update or configure. I have message contracts turned off. I could turn them on, which would slightly change the way I call the web service as far as using an actual request and a response, which would be a SOAP contract. Then I could get access to the header information, the caller information, and other things. I could validate security, etc. Right now I'm not using that, so I just have my endpoint and basic HTTP. From the project view, there's 3 XAML files. The main window, which has a menu bar, new, edit, and exit. Along with that, it sends the default arguments to the serializer, the test XSD, etc. Then I'd go to edit test, which opens the test window. Here in the test window, go through the code behind. I set some properties in the constructor. I have file export. This is where I use my web service to send the data set that I'm working with and serialize it to the database. File open opens a local file as a file stream. Populate questions. Here I'm using the deserialized XML file in a dataset form, and I can take advantage of the dataset functionality, specifically the new field and set field methods, where I can provide the column name, and I can also take advantage of the child rows, the child relation rows. Since the XSD file declares what element is related to what as far as child elements, etc. All those relations and things are deserialized into the data set, which is very, very handy. So here I have a data row where I'm looking for a primary key. I get that data row, and then I get its child relation rows, which are the answers that belong to that question. So then the rest of this method uses the field method and sets the values to the front end from the row. The next method, save to set, is very similar. It uses the set field method and sets the appropriate field of the appropriate row based on the controls text property. Then I call the dataset accept changes, which saves the in-memory copy, updates the in-memory copy, and then save that to the serializer so that it could be saved as a file or saved to the database later on. Here, file save saves the file locally, and then we have these methods I wrote correspond to adding the HTML, video, or audio. These could be expanded on a lot. Here I open, say, insert video. I open the insert from web XAML window. Here's where a user, if they inserted video, would just need to really provide the URL of the video, the MP4 file. Here's the code behind. Semantically, I say this could be expanded on because any HTML element, we could wrap UI functionality around that to do whatever the user wanted to. Using the new video control, audio, or image is very straightforward. So here's where a string would be returned as HTML. The whole idea is that when I serialize and deserialize, any HTML is stored in its entity reference form, meaning that this less than bracket becomes ampersand LT colon, and this greater than bracket becomes ampersand GT colon, etc. That way, any HTML is stored in the XML and isn't really utilized until I transform it back to an HTML representation of the data set. Beyond those things, the code behind in the service reference, here's the the XAML code, XAML, Extensible Application Markup Language. There's a lot of handy elements here. The scroll viewer, the stack panel, the grid view. They're very similar to CSS and CSS3, or the new CSS3 flex property is to the grid.column, grid.row. These are really handy properties, along with how you align things, the horizontal and vertical alignment. How you set a color is very similar to HTML. WPF, you can do a lot of things. There's ways to insert JavaScript effects and rounded corners and edges and all kinds of new graphic things that I'm not working with anything too crazy in this project. But it serves its point. Beyond that, I chose WPF because your average UI element has really a ton of events that you can subscribe to that work with the newer devices, such as if you have a device that has a stylus, or you're using a touchscreen device. Really all the modern devices or cell phone hybrids, tablets, iPads, things like that, you can use a WPF application. Actually, correction, you can't use WPF on a Mac. You would need to use Silverlight. I'm thinking of the new Windows Surface PC. But anyway, any modern Microsoft PC touchscreen tablet you can use WPF with. So, I think that covers Academic Test Demo Client. Thanks for your time. This is Bill Kearns from Blue Kernel IT. Take care.